In this video, we will cover adjusting view settings and applying and assigning view templates. In this floor plan view, you can see several different colors, along with varying line weights and different brightness levels. We'll take a look at how this is controlled. When nothing is selected, the Properties palette will display the parameters of the view, or the view settings. Several of these settings can also be controlled in the View control bar. For example, you can see the scale and the detail level in the Properties palette, as well as in the View control bar. The detail level is important to duct and piping components. At the fine level of detail, both ductwork and piping appear as double line. At the medium level of detail, piping appears single line and ductwork is double line. And at the coarse detail level, both ductwork and piping appear as single line. I'll switch back to the fine level of detail and we'll take a look at some more view settings. You can access the visibility graphic overrides from the Properties palette, and we'll discuss that in depth here in a minute. As I keep going down the list, I'll get to the discipline parameter, which is important, and you'll see that it is grayed out along with some of these other parameters. If you see a parameter in the Properties palette that's grayed out, or one of the view settings in the View control bar, that should tell you that there is a view template that is driving those parameters. And when you scroll down, there's a view template parameter here under identity data, and you can see that the mechanical plan view template has been assigned. And I'll click that button, it'll open up the assign view template dialog. And once again, you can see that mechanical plan is selected. So what that means is that the mechanical plan view template is assigned to this view. So any parameters that are included in this view template will drive or control those view parameters. So in this case, when I take a look at the discipline parameter, you can see that it is included with the view template, and the view template's assigned, so it's driving that view parameter. If the view template was set to none, then there's not a view template assigned. So quick note here on the discipline parameter. If one of the MEP disciplines is used, then architectural elements will be half-tone. And so that's why you see a different brightness level for the architectural components. It's because they are half-tone. I'll click OK to close this dialog. And then while we're discussing view templates here, so once again, if you see a view template filled in this view template parameter, that means it's assigned. You can also use view templates by applying them. And so if I switch to the View ribbon and on the Graphics panel, expand View Templates, you can see that there's also a tool here called Apply Template Properties to Current View. That is a one-time application of those parameters. And so once you do that, you can then adjust any of those settings. So if we were to apply the mechanical plan view template, we could then go in the Properties palette and adjust the discipline parameter and any of these other ones that are grayed out. So that is the difference between applying and assigning view templates. Now, another view setting I want to point out while we're here in the Properties palette is the view range. So when I scroll down under Extents, you can see View Range, and I'll click Edit, and I'll click Show, and this will provide a little picture here that will show you what these settings do. So the view range is extremely important, especially with MEP design. And for example, if you're doing underground piping, you want to make sure that you adjust the bottom or the view depth to include the piping that's below ground. If you want to see things above the ceiling, you want to make sure that the top is adjusted accordingly. And then the cut plane, that's that's big for how the architectural components are going to show, such as the doors that are cut by the view, or if it's above the door, then the door opening won't show, and so on and so forth. So the view range is extremely important. I'll click OK to close the dialog, and then let's wrap up by discussing visibility and graphic overrides. So when I click Edit next to Visibility Graphic Overrides, it's going to open up the Visibility Graphic Overrides dialog, and you should know that this dialog only controls settings for the current view. And so you can see that right here. It says for floor plan and lists out the specific floor plan view. First off, you can control the visibility of categories. And so on the Model Categories tab, I can control which model categories are visible. And as I scroll through the list here, you can see, for example, duct. I can turn off ducts, duct placeholders, duct fittings, duct accessories, if I did not want to see those in the view. And so that's if you want to show a duct plan versus a pipe plan, you have a high-level control in the category. There are also other things you can control. You can control the line styles that are being used here. So you can override that and control line graphics for projection lines and cut lines. You can also set certain categories to be half tone. And you can also override the detail level. And so that's, for example, if you wanted to set the detail level to coarse and then have your ductwork and piping appear fine, you can do that by using the controls here in the Visibility Graphic Overrides dialog. There are also annotation categories tabs, so you can control things like text and tags. Analytical model categories applies mainly to structural components, and then if you have anything imported, you can control imported categories. And then on the filters tab, you can control, you can set up filters and then control those. And we have a couple here. So first off, I'm going to close this dialog, and you can see that our supply ductwork is blue, return is magenta, and exhaust is green. And that is being controlled by the duct systems, and specifically the duct system type. But here you can see that some of these air terminals have been overridden. They don't match the system color. And so that is controlled in the Visibility Graphic Overrides dialog. Now, anything that's specified on the Model Categories tab will be overridden by the system type, and then anything on the Filters tab will override the system types. So for example, our supply, ceiling HVAC supply filter has the cyan color, and it is controlling the air terminals. So if I come into the Filters dialog, you can see that it is overriding, or it's applying to air terminals, and specifically supply air terminals, and then it's being overridden with a cyan color. And then similarly, you can see some other filters here that are being used. And so there are, when you use filters, they can be used to control visibility as well as graphic settings. And then you can control whether or not to enable that filter, and then once again, whether it's visible, and then some of the graphic settings there. Lastly, on the Revit Links tab, you can control whether any of your linked Revit models are visible, and then you can control specific display settings for the link. And so an example here is if you had plumbing fixtures in the architectural model and you didn't want to see them. If you turned off the model category entirely, then it would turn off your plumbing fixtures as well as those in the architectural model, or any other link for that matter. If you wanted to turn them off just for the link, you could set it to custom, and then go to the Model Categories tab and change the model categories to custom, and then you could make that change on the Model Categories tab and turn off plumbing fixtures. And so that's how you can set up your graphic display and visibility of objects in your views.